And stuff.
You guys ready?
I'm ready. Yep.
You guys ready? Sure. Okay, at this time, I'll call the March meeting of the East Hempfield Township Zoning Hearing Board to order. Members present this evening are Mr. Hanson, Mr. Luce, Mr. Bingham, and myself. Also, we have with us our legal counsel, Jason Hess, our township zoning officer, Beth Graham, and a court reporter taking the official minutes. We have scheduled this evening 3 new cases and any continued cases that we may see yet on our agenda. This board will hear each case in an informal manner without strict compliance with the rules of procedure of a court trial. We asked each applicant and any individuals interested in that particular case to step in front of the table and explain the circumstances involved in their application. Applicants may present their case themselves or through their attorneys or other representatives. Fellow board members and I, as well as our solicitor, may ask the applicant questions from time to time during the applicant's presentation or at its conclusion. All persons having an interest in the application will be given the opportunity to ask questions of the applicant, to offer evidence of their own, and inform the board of their position on the matter. In the interest of a prompt and orderly disposition of each case, however, we will ask interested people to refrain from speaking until the applicant's presentation has been completed and the board has had the opportunity to question the applicant. At the beginning of each case, people who are interested in the case should decide whether they desire to be parties to it. By being given the status of a party, that person will be entitled to receive notice of the decisions in that case and will be entitled to participate in any subsequent appeal or rehearing. Individuals who are not given party status may nevertheless ask questions and present evidence, but will not receive notice of the decision and will not automatically be entitled to participate in any appeal or subsequent rehearing. If you desire to be a party, we will ask you to sign an entry of an appearance form at the appropriate time. And although each party will receive a written copy of the decision, the mechanics of typing and signing the decision will take approximately 4 weeks. We ask that each person who asks a question or makes a statement first state his or her name and address for the court reporter. Now, lastly, in the interest of time, I will administer the oath or affirmation to all applicants and to everyone and anyone who anticipates making any statement with respect to any of the hearings this evening. So at this time, would you all rise, please? Under penalties of perjury, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, please say, I do. Okay, stay standing, please. We'll salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Beth, the cases this evening have been advertised and posted in accordance with the MPC and the open or the Sunshine Law?
They have been.
Thank you. Gentlemen, you have received a copy of the board's minutes of February 19th, 24. There are no additions, deletions, or corrections. I would ask for a motion to approve as submitted by the secretary.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Luce. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hanson. Any discussion, gentlemen? Seeing none. Mr. Hanson?
In favor.
Mr. Luce?
In favor.
Mr. Bingham?
I was absent, so I will refrain.
And I will vote in favor of the February 19th board minutes. The February 19th, 2024 board minutes have been approved by a 3-0-1 vote. Beth, Any old business?
No.
Okay, then let's go to new business. First case, please.
Case number 2477, Thomas Lohr, 79 Elmwood Avenue, seeking a special exception to expand non-conforming use and variances to building expansion, lot coverage, building area, parking lot location, and visual screening.
Mr. Laura here. Direct, oh, I also forgot to tell everyone, not only this meeting being held in person, but we're also holding it via Zoom. So is there anyone in the audience that wants to be a party to this case or on Zoom? Okay, seeing none.
Good evening. Riley Notzel with Barley Snyder here on behalf of the applicant, Tom Lohr. I also have with me Cheryl Love with the LA Group as well. She's our consultant on this project. The property in question is 79 Elmwood Avenue. It's about 0.956 acres. Currently, it's in the Village Center zone, but in around 2013 or 2014, it was actually rezoned from I-2 to Village Center. The property use at that time and still at this time was for storage of food products and grocery goods. That's what Mr. Lohr uses the property for, basically dry storage and storage of those types of products. I'm not sure if you all have copies of what was submitted, but I'd like to pass around our application as well as the plans that were submitted and have them marked as exhibits. So the first exhibit that we'd have marked as applicant's Exhibit A is the actual application.
Thank you.
And then next, I would like to have marked as applicant's Exhibit B. It's a letter dated April 4th, 2013, from Michael Lohr, or to Michael Lohr from East Hempfield Township, as well as an accompanying warehouse plot plan dated February 19th, 2013. This plan actually shows the configuration of the property as of or around the time when it was rezoned from industrial to village commercial or village center. And then finally, I'd like to have marked as applicant's Exhibit C, zoning plan for 79 Elmwood Avenue, which was prepared by ELA Group. There's 3 sheets here. So we'll be referring to that applicant's Exhibit C quite often here, and it looks like it is on the screen as well. What we passed out is the same as what's shown on your screen. So as was mentioned, there are a number of items of zoning relief that we're requesting, but almost all of them actually relate to just the existing nonconformities on the property. We're requesting a variance to allow greater than 50% lot coverage. The lot was already improved with 100% lot coverage when the property was zoned I-2. So this would just acknowledge the existing nonconformities. We're also asking for a variance to allow parking to be located in the front yard, Again, that's existing. That was already there when the property was rezoned, so essentially became non-conforming and would just continue with this application. And then the other relief, two items of relief that we're requesting are a variance to not provide a visual screen along adjoining VR residential district. As is shown on this plan, the applicant's Exhibit C, there is already a significant amount of trees and landscaping located on the adjoining property that really shields this property from view of any residential use. The residential property or use itself is actually quite far away. I think it's like 600 feet or so, which Cheryl will speak to. So we believe that what's existing there is already sufficient, and it would be very challenging to add more screening based on the existing impervious coverage of the property. And then obviously the other item that was read as a request was we're also generally looking to expand this building, and to do that, we require a special exception to expand the existing non-conforming use, which also requires a variance because we're seeking an expansion that's slightly larger than what's allowed by the ordinance. The ordinance allows a 50% expansion, which is why we provided the 2013 plan to show what's existing. And we're just seeking to expand a little bit beyond that, which Cheryl will touch on as well. So with that overview, I would like to have Tom just give the board a little bit of background and insight on the existing operations at the property. So if you want to come up. So feel free to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Tom Lohr, owner of Thomas Trading.
If it's easier, you can take that out of it.
There we go. That's a little easier. Thank you. So Tom Lohr with Thomas Trading. We incorporated in 2004 and have seen steady growth over the years. So I don't know if you know it or not, but we're basically in the capital of the country for discount food. So most discount food across the country finds its way to Lancaster. So our company is a niche company. We'll buy anything from a truck accident to short dated goods, from Post Cereal, Snyder Lance, Schwann's Pizza, Tyson Foods. Lots and lots of truckloads of product come through. So we primarily service Amish Mennonite discount stores in Lancaster, Lebanon County. We provide deliveries as far as Wisconsin. So yeah, just every day is an adventure in the salvage business. We just never know what's going to happen. If a truck crashes, we end up putting bids on product, and that drives the product into Lancaster County. Anything else you'd like me to add to that?
Yeah, if you don't mind just telling them a little bit about what you use the building currently for.
Sure. So our facility, we keep pallets of groceries, general merchandise items, but mostly anything that would go into a grocery store. We just need a roof over it. Just dry storage is what we're looking for on the back of the building, to have pallets go in and pallets go out.
And I had mentioned, and I know Cheryl's going to touch on this, but the desire here is to develop an expansion to the existing building. What exactly would that expanded area be used for? Same thing?
It would be used for the same thing. We've outgrown our facility already, and we use outside storage, which is actually in the area, and we would like to bring it all in-house. It's just so much easier to pull out of one warehouse.
Do you anticipate any additional employees, or is this just going to be mainly just another additional area for storage?
No, our employee base will not grow. It's just, we just need more room to bring all our groceries in and move them out.
And can you speak to, since you've been here since, I'm assuming before 2013, because that's when you originally dealt with the plan. Can you speak to sort of truck traffic in the area related to this use, and whether you foresee that changing at all?
Sure. Yeah. The way our truck traffic works, we probably have about 2 tractor trailer loads a day that come in, and then we deliver product out of the warehouse as well. But pretty much 2 inbound loads per day, about 10 a week. And it's deal driven, but that's the average, and I don't see that changing.
Okay, great.
Excuse me.
Sure.
I'm sorry, you say 10 loads max per week in and out, or just 10 loads coming in?
On average, about 10 per week come in.
Okay, thank you.
Some weeks it might be 4. And the next week it might be 14, but I'd say the average is about 10.
So we'll probably might have more questions for you, but you can have a seat. And as we walk through the plan, there might be other items that come up. But that gives us helpful background.
Make sure you talk into the microphone so everybody can hear. Thanks.
Sorry, yep. You're on. This is Cheryl. She's gonna speak a little bit on the plan that you have in front of you that her team put together.
Cheryl,
Sh-
please state your name and address
Yep.
for the court reporter.
Yes, Cheryl Love, I'm a registered landscape architect, employed by ELA Group in Lidditz. Do you want the business address? Okay, 743 South Broad Street, Lidditz, PA. As you see on the screen, that's sheet 2 of our Exhibit C, our site plans as submitted to the township for the zoning. What we have on the property north is straight up on the sheet, east is to the right, west is to the left. The eastern side of the property, let me see if I get this going here. Your laser pointer on this?
Here's one that's working.
May I use that? Just turn it on the side, needs to be turned on possibly. On.
Can you show it on that one,
On that one.
Oh, there we go. Oh,
please?
oh, on the
We don't
back.
have to.
Okay, oh, sorry. Very good point. So on this sheet 2 of exhibits C, this eastern property line, our property line is in this location here. There is an existing 20-foot wide easement for LASA that causes some constraints for us on this eastern property line. Within that 20-foot, as it extends back to, there's a small pump station owned by LASA in the northeast corner just off of our property. Within that easement, there is a force main, there's a sewer line, there's a water line, and there's underground electric. So we are quite constrained on the eastern property line itself. Although that is all under pavement, again, it's within an easement in that location. Across to the rear or the northern property line, this is a slightly curved property line, and that is due to the Amtrak Railroad that is parallel, somewhat parallel, and runs east-west behind the property. On the western side of the property, that's generally open pavement that is shared. Again, there's pavement on the west of us and pavement over to the existing building of ours. And in the front is again fully paved in front of the property out to the front property line here located on the south. So the existing site itself is 100% impervious with either the building or with pavement itself. So those are some of the constraints among the site that we have. And several of our variances, in fact, all of them, except for, aside from the building expansion proposal that we have, all of those are related to our current existing conditions. As they stand, they're currently non-compliant already with several of our variance requests. The rezoning of the property, as Riley mentioned, from I-2 to the village center created these nonconformities for our existing situations and for the existing building itself. The size on this same exhibit sheet 2, the size of the existing building is in total, these are the portions of the building, and they add up to 14,291 square feet. Current zoning for the village center district maximizes the building sizes at 5,000 square feet. So our existing condition already exceeds that current zoning. Lot coverage, again, we have existing as 100% lot coverage. The current zoning for the VC district is maximum lot coverage is 50%. So again, our existing conditions exceed what the current zoning is for this property at this time. Setbacks for parking, parking is
now required to be in either the side or the rear property lines. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we move on through. Can we switch to the next drawing, sheet 3 of Exhibit C, please? Thank you. This is our proposed plan. And what you see is the area in gray shade on sheet 3 of Exhibit C demonstrates the area of our footprint that we're looking to expand beyond the existing footprint. So that area that is shaded light gray is an additional 8,278 square feet beyond the existing footprint. So in total, the existing 14,291 plus the new area expanded beyond current footprint is a total of 22,569 square feet. Section 270-6.6C defines the expansion of a non-conforming use. And it states that the expansion is not to exceed an additional 50% of the actual area of building devoted to the non-conforming use. So our 14,291 square feet of current footprint, 50% of that would be 7,145 square feet. And when you add that 7,145 to the current of what we have of 14,291, we have a total of 21,436 square feet. Again, our proposing is 22,569 square feet. So those are our comparisons as to the way we see that we are slightly over, as Riley mentioned, the requirements that are permitted to us through the special exception. Most of the addition will not be visible from the street. For orientation, Elmwood Avenue is located in the north-south direction at the bottom of the sheet. And majority of the existing building will block view of the area that we are proposing for the addition footprint to expand. On the right-hand side of the front face of that expansion is a single loading dock for truck access. On the left or the western side, there are 2 loading docks located here, and they are located in such a way as to provide access for the trucks to line up adjacent to both the east and the west sides of the existing building itself. We have carefully looked at how those turning movements work for the vehicles as well, and I can describe that shortly. But the variance for the size expansion is needed just for us to really configure the building in this way and to get access for loading space on the edges, the front corner edges of the expanded area of the building itself. The building expansion itself, it's necessary for us to, in order to accommodate, as I mentioned, the truck turning movements. We've looked at those again on sheet 3 of this exhibit. There is a current easement on the prior recorded plans for the residential units to the east of us that allows, at this point in time, and again, as recorded, the use of this general space located in the southwest corner of the property, the adjacent property's parking lot that grants the trading, Thomas Trading property, the right to pull trucks into this area. Currently, they had been using a loading dock on the side of the building. This, however, affords the ability to pull in back up to the loading dock on the new addition portion on the east side, and then to exit back down Elmwood Avenue. The truck movements for the western side of the property and loading docks would proceed from Elmwood Avenue onto the 50-foot area of road in front of their property. And then we've looked at the turning movements to back up into the two loading docks here, and both vehicles can successfully get a wheelbase 62 truck backed into those areas without having any infringement on any adjacent properties. So fully self-sufficient within the zone adjacent to the west side of the current building. So those function very well from what we have looked at with our engineering, with our traffic engineers. The existing building, again, it is fairly close to both of the western property line here at the front corner and the eastern property lines, which again necessitates the addition being in the rear with a small projection on each side just to get the loading docks in there and to facilitate the truck turning movements. As far as the vegetative screening, this drawing, sheet 3, also depicts the existing trees that are within the current parking lot. There is a dense, extensive amount of vegetation along the northern side of the drive that proceeds, I think it's Caroline Drive, out to the residential units. There is additional screening here. Then there is a large grassed stormwater basin, additional trees, and there's a walking path from the residents' units that are about 635 feet to the east in order for them to come in and access this parking area. This is very minimally used, but I believe it was provided as overflow parking for that development at the time it was constructed. So that screening, while we cannot provide screening within our current site adjacent to residential use or residential district due to several constraints, mostly is related to that LASA easement, we certainly are very well visually screened from those adjacent properties and that residential use to the east. All of the operations for Thomas Trading will be located inside the building. And I believe that when Tom testified to outside, he meant outside of this property as far as off-site areas that they're currently leasing, not on this specific site itself. So the loading will be directly into the building and all operations remain inside the building. And then again, they will load and export out from that building site and leave through the front and back Elmwood Avenue. The use itself, as discussed earlier, is not changing or expected to increase in intensity. And we are providing our proposed parking spaces in the front portion of the building along the southern side. And we are providing what is recommended from the ITE manual that we had our traffic engineers look at for a warehouse project of this size. And it was appropriate for a total of 10 parking spaces. And then we have the ADA space as well for a total of 11. And we did look at those parking spaces and they function very well there in relation to turning movements of trucks. They are out of the way. They are not impacted at all from any of the other truck operations within that space. As far as the plan's compliance, we have, I think I described the setbacks a bit earlier, but I'm sorry. The western property line has a 10-foot side yard setback. There is a 10-foot setback on the rear property line. And there's actually a 20-foot setback as I interpret the ordinance because this section is next to a residential district, which increases that setback to 20 feet, which it superimposes with the LASA easement as well. So the front yard setback is a little bit more in depth. The way that section 270-4.10.A.1 reads for the front setback buildings on a built-up streets where at least two adjacent buildings within 100 feet of the lot are set back a lesser distance than required. The average of the lesser distances becomes the required minimum setback for the lot. This sheet 3 depicts the building to the west. We've provided two dimensions from their existing building front in their southeast corner of 11 feet to the property line and 12 feet to the property line. Both front corners on the existing Thomas Trading property are located 35.58 feet from the property line. So we are compliant in our interpretation with the front setbacks on this project. With regards to impervious space, the existing property, as we mentioned earlier, is already non-conforming. We are 100% impervious in the existing condition, and that was in that state at the time that the property was rezoned. The ordinance for the village center does stipulate a 50% impervious, so we are requesting a variance of that specific section. And with regards to parking, we've testified previously here as to the numbers of parking spaces. They are compliant with your ordinance requirements. And as I stated, they're more than sufficient for the 10 employees, which happens to be what the ITE manual is also recommending for a warehouse of this specific size. The character of the neighborhood, we are consistent with the use that is immediately to our west and with that building, that existing building. So we believe we are remaining consistent. Our use is remaining as it is currently existing. And we are basically located at the end of that dead-end street off the end of Elmwood Avenue. Vehicles entering and turning will be all really controlled right in the front portion of our site. There is no need for, just a short distance from Elmwood back to this specific property for both their employees that would continue and with their trucking operations as Tom had described.
Thank you. Not right now. I think that was great. Thank you.
Can we have questions, please?
Sure.
Vance?
One of the questions I have is on your turning of trucks,
Mm-hmm.
where does Elmwood Avenue end? Because it used to be proposed to go down, and I know that no longer exists. Where exactly does it end?
Yeah, Elmwood Avenue actually, I believe on a, comes up, it ends here and it goes across. We have looked at deeds and prior deeds when the original properties were all subdivided to create this lot. There is language in that deed that provides for the rights of access across the 50-foot of pavement space. Basically, it's like a private right-of-way in the front. But that's generally, Elmwood comes up, it ends across, and it comes down. As it used to be Broad Street, as you know, it used to go all the way through. But we did research back into deeds as far as those rights for access and so forth.
So it gives you permission to go across 50 feet, but how far to the west does it in order to make that turn to back into your location? Your docks are on the west side.
So we would go to where this truck is approximately here and it's straight, and then they back up into this.
That's permitted in the deed?
Yes. This space across the front is defined in the deed as a 50-foot area that provides for rights of access and use of that space in perpetuity, as I believe it read.
The reason I question that is because the street is 50 feet wide, was proposed to be 50 feet wide.
Mhm.
So that would be your 50 feet to go across there. It doesn't say, does it say anything about east and west? Because I'm pretty sure that's owned by, another group.
Copy. Yeah.
But-
So the deed actually says, together with the perpetual right-of-way to pass over and use as a street for access in common with others, the following strips of land, each 50 feet wide. And then it proceeds to describe what we believe to be the extent, to the west. So I think it was contemplated that these areas would be available to basically the end.
If this board were to approve your application, as a condition, would you submit that as an addition to your application to the township?
Do you want, yeah, I was gonna,
We can submit it tonight. I mean, it's just from the Recorder Deeds Office. If
Okay.
you'd like us to, we have no problem. I put some highlighting on there, but it was just to draw attention to those specific sections of that deed.
The proposed loading docks on the expansion on the east and west side.
Mhm.
From the loading dock to the front of the building is 70 feet, is that correct?
I believe that's correct.
One of the things I noticed the other day is there are several trailers parked out back and along the side, on the western side of the property. With your expansion, what are you gonna do with your trailers that are parked there?
So several of those are storage trailers, which if we have warehouse, we don't need the storage trailers.
Okay. But except for trucks back in a loading dock, those would be the only really storage area for trailers at that point?
Correct. We would just have our regular trailers.
One of the things, Ms. Love, I didn't see, because you're asking for a special exception, section 270 9.12A1 says that applicant shall demonstrate compliance with the specific criteria established in Article 5. I didn't see that in your application.
We just took the position that it's not really a change in use. It's the same use. Nothing's changing other than the building would be increasing in size. That was our interpretation of it.
I'll let the chairman make that determination, but to me, because this is a non-conforming use and you want to increase that non-conforming use, specific criteria should be included.
We can speak to that if you'd like us to go through the.
So my next question would be the township. I'm not sure I saw anything in Article 5 that would cover them. Nate, do you have anything to chime in on that?
What was the question again?
One of the requirements they have for a special exception is they have to demonstrate that they can meet the specific criteria established in Article 5. Exactly what would they fall under in Article 5?
They would fall under general industrial. Without putting the notes up in front of me, I believe they generally comply with that. That was everything that when we spoke with them previously about a plan for this.
We put in our application how we meet the criteria for the expansion of the non-conforming use, but I'm trying to find the criteria for the general industrial. We could just go through that with you.
It's under, so, let me get to the beginning of the section here. Subsection II, that I'm trying to find. Yeah. It's page 111 of 150 in mine, but it might be different now.
I have it in front of me here. Looks like II subsection 2 deals with industrial general, which it sounds like that's what the determination would be that we would fall under. So I can read these and then if you want to come up or if you want to speak to this.
I'll speak.
Okay, unless you need, okay. So
Well, yeah, please read them just for enter them in the record.
sure. Yeah, so A says such uses shall be permitted in zones that encourage non-residential uses where such uses have the ability to employ workers, utilize streets that have capacity to handle employee service and delivery vehicles and customer traffic. As Ms. Love mentioned, the use isn't changing in intensity, it's already there. So it accommodates what's there and there's not really going to be any change. I don't know if you want to add to that.
That's correct. And the parking, we will not have customers. Our understanding is coming or going. So it's really an employee-based use. And then the trucks, as Tom had testified to.
Letter B says within the rural business zone, a minimum lot size of 10 acres shall be required. This isn't in that zone, so that wouldn't apply. C, public water and public sewer shall be required unless the applicant could demonstrate for the specific use proposed as practical and feasible to use on lot water and sewer. It's public water and sewer.
Public water and sewer exists at the building now.
D says the applicant shall complete a traffic impact study. That would be something that would be, we'd be willing to submit as part of our land development submission. But can you reiterate what was already looked at?
Right. What we looked at, again, the parking requirement was per the ITE manual for the 10 employees that are currently already coming and going. And from a truck use standpoint, again, Tom testified that he's really not looking at any increase there. So it would be the average of 2 trucks per day, potential of an average of 10 per week, which is extremely minimal. Not even sure that would meet the full threshold of the requirements for a full traffic impact study.
With that statement about the 2 trucks, I wanted to ask the applicant this before, but the applicant said there'd be 2 trucks a day coming with this material on them. What about the trucks leaving the premises with the material to go to wherever they go? What type of trucks are they?
So we have a tractor trailer, box truck and a Sprinter van. So probably 3 trucks leaving per day.
Okay, one being a tractor trailer.
Correct.
So basically tractor trailer, and the reason I'm saying this is because you're also going in the summertime pool with a lot of kids. And kids in tractor trailers don't usually, the kids don't win out. Are those drivers of those 3 tractor trailer your employees? Or they contract somebody else, bring them in?
The drivers that leave our building are our employees.
Okay.
The inbound loads are just like a load going to Kellogg's.
Right, okay. And you only work 5 days a week?
Correct. Monday through Friday.
Okay.
Hours are about 8 to 4.
Okay, thank you. Mark, it's yours.
I don't think they got through everything yet.
If I can continue, E says such uses shall have direct access onto designated arterial and collector classified streets for business deliveries and employee access. I don't know if we actually front a collector or arterial street. We're actually on a private right of way. So our position again was that since the use is the same, it's sort of grandfathered. It's not intensifying. you know, it is what it is, but if necessary, we would have to amend our application to ask for relief from that section, because I don't think we front on that. F, such uses do not produce noise and or air pollutants that exceed normal limits. Tom, do you want to speak to that? I mean, everything's indoor, right? So there wouldn't be anything that would be emanated from outside the building?
Correct. Our operation is all indoors, except for the trucks leaving.
G, outdoor storage of any materials or products shall be permitted in accordance with provisions of Article 4. It's correct. Am I correct, Tom, in saying that there's not going to be outdoor storage?
Correct. No outdoor storage.
And then lastly, H, if truck deliveries are required as part of normal business operations, a designated loading space is required. Do you want to speak to that?
Right. As we testified earlier, sheet 3 of our exhibit C depicts where our loading spaces are planned on the areas of the building, 2 to the west and 1 on the eastern side of the building, where the addition will front out to the street.
So to conclude, just a couple closing remarks. You know, we do feel from a policy perspective, this is consistent with, you know, good planning, encouraging.
Before you get into the closing remarks, we still have some questions possibly.
Sure, go ahead.
Thanks. You done, Mark?
No. I understand your, several of your variance requests is like for the screening. I understand that. Understand the lot coverage because you're already at 100%. The issue becomes, I think the biggest concern here is the expansion size. The ordinance does allow up to 50%. And you're going over it. What is your percentage over the 50?
I think you had calculated 8%, is that?
Let me find that page of my testimony here a second. As far as the building size itself, as we walked through that calculation a bit earlier, so we are proposing 22,569 square foot total for the entire building. That is the 14,291 existing, and then the gray area of expanding beyond the current footprint was about 8,000. So again, 22,569. When I walked through the calculation for existing plus 50% of the existing, so that brings us to 22,436. So it's the difference between 22,569 and 21,436 that would be permitted based on the calculation.
And I think, as Cheryl had mentioned, part of the reasoning for the size is really to accommodate the loading, you know, efficient loading, because there's currently loading, but this is actually going to improve it based on what's proposed. And because of the building so close already and the site's already fully covered, it just makes sense to put it in the back and have it sort of expand to the west to accommodate the truck loading areas.
So we're asking for an additional 1,133 square feet above what we are permitted to do.
You could keep your loading docks where they're at and still only go to 50% expansion if you brought the north side back in a little bit.
I suppose that's true. We are trying to make sure we are accommodating the growth that they're currently seeing. We feel it's important to get the excess storage space and storage trailers off the site and itself and be able to get them inside the building. for their operations. We feel that that is a visual improvement to the character of the area, as well as to get things inside instead of the trailers that you see there now, which are visible, as the residents do come and turn to the right on Caroline Ave, they do see those storage trailers. And I mean, my personal opinion is it is an improvement to see that inside the building than the trailers themselves on the exterior of the building.
I would also add too, I think as Tom mentioned, that the goal here is to really consolidate operations, and, we don't want to have to be coming back again if we need more space. I think he wants to grow at this property and continue to use it for what it was originally built and expanded for back before the zoning changed. So what we were asking for is sort of, we're hoping would accommodate, future demands as well. Again, it's storage area. There's not going to be any additional employees, but, the size of things change, the demands change. So we're just trying to plan for fluctuations and instead of having to come back again.
I understand all that. The way I'm going at this is the courts, state of Pennsylvania have already said we are to grant the least amount for variance that can do the job. And financial consideration is not to be taken into account.
We would submit that this is one where financial consideration should be made because it is related to dimensional. So there is a more relaxed standard for dimensional requirements.
But even the courts have even said on dimensional, financial reasons are not to be taken into account in the grant of a variance. And I'm sure our solicitor can quote some cases there if need be.
Well, I don't know if I have the cases on the top of my head.
Oh, come on, G.
But there are some, there are some situations are you claiming it's a de minimis variance request?
Well, we feel it's at least dimensional, is like a dimensional variance, so it would fall under the Hertzberg analysis.
There's also another requirement under section 270-6.6. So you're right that 270-6.6C allows up to a 50% addition, but 270-6.6G says the expansion shall not create new dimensional nonconformities or further increase existing dimensional nonconformities. So the size of the building is that technically is limited to 5,000 square feet. So you're exceeding that existing dimensional nonconformity. So I think you would need a variance from that section as well, which.
Even though I think we did ask for a variance for the building size already, because it's already over 5,000. So
Okay.
we had asked for a variance from 270-3.8E8, which I don't know, maybe it could have been cross-referenced to that other section, but the intent was to recognize that it's already non-conforming. So I guess the question is, how would someone ever expand without a variance if it's already over what's allowed?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You're basically asking for one and the same thing, but in both requests.
Just bear with us, man. We're doing some research here.
Sure. Sounds good.
Mr. Hanson, if we wanted to take a minute off the record and we could do so.
Okay, we'll go off the record for the time being.
This came up.
At this time, we'll go back on the record. Mr. Hanson.
So Hirschberger does allow you some points to go financial, but it doesn't excuse a hardship. And as of yet, you haven't given a hardship.
Well, I can have Cheryl speak to some of the site constraints again, but, our position is that with the, existing site already being used and developed as an industrial use, the hardship is the financial and other challenges that I'm sure you can speak to as far as relocating or buying a new property and building another site to accommodate this use, because the demand is there. It's just a question of whether it can be accommodated and consolidated here, or if the applicant's going to have to go elsewhere to, satisfy the need to expand. So I don't know, do you want to speak to sort of the consolidation of your operations?
May I?
Yes.
Before you go there, I don't think what Mr. Hanson just stated, based on the case that he's looking at, is that you can take into consideration some financial, but I think what he is saying, what is the hardship that you need to go beyond the 50% expansion?
Correct.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I was going to have Tom sort of speak to the desire of sort of why he needs to consolidate, why this size. I guess first I'd ask you to sort of, you ran some
Right.
calculations.
Right, to clarify for everyone, that difference, as we testified a minute ago, was 1,133 square feet. That calculates to 5% beyond the 50%. Just so we are all understanding from a percent basis, what that is looking for. And again, he's looking to be able to improve his functions, to get the current use of what he sees as demand, consolidate into one operation for area where he's currently leasing and trucking between areas, and looking to put everything in this one space, but to eliminate the storage trailers as well. And again, we feel that we are minimizing impacts by having this to the rear of the property, from a visual standpoint, and we certainly believe we are not changing any character of space as well.
I understand everything you said there, but excuse me, you still didn't give me a hardship. What is your hardship? I can understand some of the financial considerations, but Hirschberger does say you still need to prove a hardship.
Up and just, one of the things that maybe you can speak to them on is sort of what goes into, what components are you considering maybe for this area as far as the way it's configured? Like what makes it so that you need it to be this configuration or size? Is it loading? Is it height? Is it, accommodating demand? What?
So we just need the product to be able to fit under our roof in our warehouse, and we're basically out of space. So we want to maximize it. We have the train track behind us, and it seems like a perfect spot for it. So we definitely need more space to put our groceries in. I don't want to have to move, and I love East Hempfield. I mean, I live here. It's great, and it's a great place to be able to move product into York County and into Lebanon County from. It just works out great, and we love it. We're friendly with the pool.
So you could probably get away or do something that probably complies with the ordinance to their point, but is it your position, or at least are you conveying to them that the goal here is to build something that you can grow with, that's not just going to last you a couple years?
Correct. Yes. We can survive the way we are now just a little bit longer, and we're going to need something more.
So that's really the rationale. I think we can all agree it's probably possible to do something within the scope of the 50%. We felt that since it's such a minor, I'll call it minor, but minimal percentage deviation, albeit a deviation from what's allowed, that, the advantage of pursuing that outweighed the disadvantage of having to come back down the road and ask for a variance anyway, because again, the goal is to grow here at this property, not to have to relocate or find another property. And obviously a lot of these nonconformities come from the fact that this property was rezoned, for better or for worse, but.
Thank you.
Anything else? Any other questions of the witnesses? I have one additional question. The property located to the east, which has parking spaces shown and some shrubbery islands, who owns that property?
That property is owned by the very next large parcel that goes all the way back with the multifamily residentials. It is part of that parcel. On this sheet 3 of Exhibit C still, the eastern property line, as I described, along the Lassa easement on the Thomas Trading property, immediately to the east of that property line is the parking lot that serves as overflow. There's a walking trail you can see in the lower right-hand portion of that plan that does go off in the direction of residential units that are located 600 feet out to the east. But that property is owned by all of the residential units off to the east.
Okay. I think I heard the applicant say that he has permission to park vehicles there.
No, I
Use it for turning space.
used it for turning space.
We are allowed to drive across the lot and to back a tractor trailer into that side of the building there.
Okay, so,
Yeah, they came to me when they were doing that addition and asked if we could work out an agreement, and I said, okay.
the agreement is just use the area for turnaround, not to actually park any vehicles.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Jason, questions of the or the witnesses?
Yeah, I have one, just I guess it's sort of to follow up to that, is all the front parking spaces they'll be used for the employees of the warehouse?
The proposed parking places shown on the south side of this sheet 3 will be for the employees of the warehouse, yes.
Okay, yeah,
Mhm.
'cause and the GIS aerial from that's on the county's GIS site, it shows that there are several trailers across the front of the property, so that's,
Those,
and it doesn't appear, it's a few trailers and a box truck. It doesn't appear there's any other vehicles other than that, so that's not gonna occur.
those will be removed. As we testified, those are additional trailers that they use for storage of materials right now because they don't have the full building space in which to contain those products. So those trailers would be removed. That would be new parking in the front of the building for the employees, and all of the storage of materials would occur inside the building.
Okay.
Anything else, Jason?
No, that's all, thank you.
Beth?
No.
Jason? Mr. Bingham?
I asked the applicant, what was the property zoned when you bought it?
It was I-2.
Right?
Um,
And
Then at some point it changed to Village Center.
do we know at what point that was?
I think it was 2013, 2014.
It would have changed with the 2014 ordinance.
Ordinance.
Okay. When you bought the property, it was suitable for the use that you had for it,
Correct.
but your business has expanded,
Yes,
causing you to want to enlarge your facility.
correct.
But the zoning change prevented that in a
That's
sense.
correct.
You need to say that, not me.
Okay. So it was zoned I-2 originally, switched to Village Center, which puts a huge encumbrance on what we want to do now as our business has grown. So I'm kind of being punished because the zoning changed.
Or constrained.
Constrained, that's a better word. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Mr. Bingham.
Thank you.
I was just gonna close with just,
You have no more witnesses or anything?
no.
Okay. Before you close, let me open it up, see if there's any. Is there anyone in the audience or on Zoom that has any questions for the witnesses? Seeing none. Is there anyone in the audience and or on Zoom have any comments for this case, either pro or con? Seeing none. You have the floor there.
I was just going to close by saying, we do feel that this is consistent with good planning. The county comprehensive plan is encouraging people to grow, on current properties rather than seeking out, vacant land or expanding into agricultural areas for new development. So really what the applicant's trying to do here is to use what he already has and try to plan for potential growth down the road, which is the reason for the variance request related to the expansion size. Again, trying to plan for and consolidate operations and plan for the future. And we feel this will actually result in an improvement. It's getting rid of some of those outdoor trailers that are there now just as a sort of temporary solution. It'll provide for, marked parking, more efficient loading areas, which we feel is sort of part of the reason why it's proposed to be designed this way. So and then the remaining requested relief is all related to existing conditions as a result of the zoning change that happened in 2013. So with that, we just request that the board grant the relief requested.
Okay. Anything else, gentlemen? If not, at this time, we will conclude taking testimony on case number 2477. I will admit into evidence applicants exhibit A, B, and C. D? D. And there is no administrative notice. So gentlemen, at this time, I will listen to a motion in case number 2477, if there is one.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion here in a second, but just want to make a comment here. What Mr. Lohr said about his hardship being the change in zoning, I will buy that as a hardship. But that's what I was trying to get you to say. It's not up for this board to tell you what your hardship is. It's for you to tell us what your hardship is. So.
Quite gracious.
Mr. Chairman, case number 2477, the request of Thomas Lohr for property located at 79 Elmwood Avenue, Landisville, PA 17538. Make a motion to grant their special exception request to section 270-6.6C for the expansion of a non-conforming use. Also make a motion to grant the following variances. Section 270-6.6C to allow for greater than 50% building expansion of the size of the existing building of 1,132.5 square feet over the allowable 50%.
1,100.
32.5. Grant variance to section 270-3.8E6 to allow for greater than 50% lot coverage since the lot coverage is already 100%. Variance to section 270-3.8E8 to allow greater than 5,000 square foot building area since the existing building is already at over 8,000 or 14,000 square feet. Grant variance to section 273.8E17A to allow parking to be located in the front yard since there was already existing parking there. And to grant a variance to section 270-3.8E20 to not provide a visual screen alongside the adjoining village residential district since there is already existing screening there. And the following conditions. Number one, our standard conditions. And number two, there is to be no further expansion on this property. They are.
Is that your motion?
Yes.
Case number 2477, motion, for the property located at 79 Elmwood Avenue, Landisville, 17538, applicant being Thomas Lohr. Following motion made by Mr. Hanson. One, to grant special exception to 270-6.6.c to allow for a greater than 50% expansion on a property in a non-conforming, use for the existing building. Variances. Section 270-6.6-C to allow for a greater than 50% lot coverage since the coverage already is at 100%. Variance is section 273.8.E8 to allow for a greater than 5,000 square feet building area since it is already exceeds that
14,000, over 14,000 existing.
by 14,000 what? It's over 14,000 square foot. Section two, variance, sections 270-3.8E17A to allow for parking in front of the building since that already exists. Variance 270-38E20 that the applicant will not have to provide visual screen along adjoining VR residential village district. With the following conditions. One, our standard condition. Two, no further expansion of property. Is that your motion?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
I would second that motion.
Seconded by Mr. Bingham. Discussion, gentlemen. I have another condition that was discussed, and that is one, that there will be no outside storage. That would be 3. 4, that storage trailers existing on property will be removed. That was 4. Notes. Not papers. I guess that's it. Are they acceptable to you, Mr. Hanson,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Luce? Oh, yeah, Mr. Bingham, you seconded, sorry.
Yes, they are acceptable.
Okay, with that, any discussion, more discussion, gentlemen? Yeah, Mr. Hanson.
Normally, I don't like to give these big of variances. They're very large. However, since the property was originally zoned industrial, and it got changed to village center, I'll go ahead and, that's why I made the motion, but normally you couldn't persuade me to go that big a variance.
Anything else?
Nope.
Well, I will second what Mr. Hanson said. I was going to basically state the same thing and actually vote no on this application. But due to the location and prior zoning on it, I will vote in favor. So with that, Mr. Hanson,
In favor.
Mr. Luce,
In favor.
Mr. Bingham,
In favor.
and I will also vote in favor. Your request has been granted as stipulated and with the conditions so abide. With that, thank you. And let's take a couple minute break. I forgot to bring the passengers today. Mm.
Get something.
If you do, would, I'd appreciate
Yeah, I'll go
it.
get some gum.
What do you need? He's getting. Case,
Case number 2478 Elmwood Properties LTD Partnership, 99 Elmwood Avenue, seeking a use variance.
yeah, yeah. Okay. Is Mr. Cooper here or his representative?
We're both here.
Okay,
All right, first, I'm Eric Winkle, an attorney with Byler and Winkle, 363 West Roseville Road.
well, could you start all over again and talk into the mic?
Yeah, let me move this
Sometimes
over.
you gotta be close to these.
All right,
There, thanks.
okay. I'm Eric Winkle, Winkle, of Byler and Winkle, 363 West Roseville Road, Lancaster 17601. I'm the attorney for Ron Cooper, who is also here. We also have Keith Good from Calabrese Good Architects. And I have Chris Yule from ID Able, who will be testifying for our second use variance request. And just so you know, we're talking about the same building, just two different parts of it in these two use variance requests that you have left on your agenda. So in talking to Jason, he suggested that we just admit our testimony from the first variance into the second variance as well, because there's a lot of overlap here.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thank you.
But before you continue, is there anyone, excuse me, anyone in this room or on Zoom that wants to be a party to this case? Seeing none, continue, sir.
Okay, thank you. We're talking about 99 Elmwood Avenue, which is the property directly to the west of the one that you were just looking at, which is why our diagram looks a great deal like the one that you just saw. We're just on the other side of that parking lot from the other building. We are also zoned Village Center. I would like our zoning application marked Exhibit A if we could. And this diagram is out of our application.
You want the the application is part of the record without it being an exhibit.
All right, that's fine. As long as we get it in there, that's fine. Ron Cooper has a business, R.H. Cooper and Sons. It's an auto repair business, which is currently located on the main street in Salunga, about 2 miles further west than this property. You've probably seen it if you've driven down the road. What he wants to do is move that automotive repair business into this building at 99 Elmwood. Currently in 99 Elmwood, there is a doggy daycare, and it was owned by, or it is owned still by the people who ran Ivy Creek Cabinets and manufacture their cabinets there. We need a use variance to move that automobile repair garage to this building and off of the main street. And we'll talk about why we need that variance and what our hardship is, but I just want to highlight for you, if this variance is granted, Ron will be able to move his entire business off of Main Street and back here on the Elmwood property, which is no longer visible from the main road and is back in what is otherwise an industrial type area. I mean, we're right next to that ever expanding warehouse. He's across the street from vacant land, and he's got other industrial uses off to his west with the railroad track behind the property. So with that, our variances are going to be based on a number of things. The building that we have was built by her and Sacco and used by Ivy Creek Manufacturing. It's got a doggy daycare in there now, which is a pre-existing non-conforming use. The cost to renovate that building to make it usable for any of the permitted uses would be pretty tremendous. And most of those permitted uses wouldn't move back there anyway. You wouldn't have professional offices in that building in what is basically a light industrial or heavy industrial complex even. And the other tenant, the doggy daycare in there, has a number of dogs and other pets that stay all day long. And they're walking the dogs and taking them out and they're grooming them. And I've been in the building, you can hear the animals in some of the other spaces just because when you get a bunch of dogs together, they make noise. So with that, I'd like Ron Cooper to testify about the permitted uses and which ones, well, all of them won't work, but I'd like to have him tell you that so that I'm not testifying, just being the lawyer here. So you can take that off if you want to, Ron. So that you,
Okay.
can I take mine off or is it?
You can.
Much better. All right. I'm going to run down the permitted uses in your zoning ordinance. Yes.
Mr. Cooper, would you please state your name and address?
Ronald Cooper, 115 West Main Street, Salunga, 17538.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Cooper, I'm going to list for you the permitted uses and you'll tell me if the building would be capable of being used for those based on its location and the state that it's now in without spending a huge amount of money to renovate the place. First permitted use is amusement, fitness, or an entertainment center.
No,
Bed and breakfast.
no,
All right, would that be suitable for a convenience store?
no,
Okay, daycare is one of the permitted uses, and I think they mean human daycare. Would that be usable?
no,
Okay, finance and insurance offices,
no,
funeral home,
no,
grocery store,
no,
light industrial, which I believe under your ordinance means manufacturing, warehousing, or processing of goods. Would it be in its current state usable as a light industrial building?
no,
Lodging or overnight accommodations,
no,
mixed use property,
no,
bars or taverns,
no,
performing arts center,
no,
private club,
no,
professional, scientific, or technical offices,
no,
restaurant,
no,
retail, sales, service, and repair of goods.
no,
Okay, would it make a good shopping complex?
no,
Okay, could you use it as a veterinarian's clinic?
no,
Okay, in its current state without substantial renovations, car wash or detailing?
no,
Okay. In terms of warehousing, the building next to you is a pretty large warehouse used by the discount grocer. Is your building big enough inside to be used as a modern warehouse?
no.
How is it inside? Could you describe what the various portions of the building are on that first floor?
Well, it's divided up into different sections, as you can see on the map. It does have a high ceiling, office space to the front. Pretty much open, different divided off section to the rear on the west side.
All right, and where will RH Cooper go if the variance is granted?
It would go to it would be in the middle section.
About where the number 1 is?
Can you
Get a pointer and point up there exactly
Sure.
where you're talking.
Yes.
So we can.
Well,
Yeah.
while we're doing that, Beth, could you blow that up just a little bit more?
I think flip it around like this.
Is it turned on?
Yeah, it looks like the
Try to look
numbers-
at the left-hand side.
numbers on it.
Yeah, there we go.
There you go.
See where it's pointing up there at the
Yeah,
wall?
yeah.
Okay, just push that button.
Okay, so this would be the east side right here. Okay, so RH Cooper and Son will take the middle, this section right here that I'm on the perimeter, and the office space right here. Currently, the doggy daycare is in this right here. And Able would take the space in the back on the west side.
Okay, now regarding the space for RH Cooper, let's deal with that one first. Near the giant one on the drawing. Can you describe what that interior space is like?
Okay, this space here is where they had their machinery, which is open space at this point. That's where the shop space would go.
It's basically vacant right now.
Vacant right
Ivy
now.
Creek is shut down.
Yeah, machinery's all out.
Okay, so you'll have automotive lifts in there. And that's where
Correct.
you'll actually work on
On the cars.
the cars.
And they will enter from this garage door right here on the east side.
Okay. I want to ask you a little bit about the auto repair business and what goes on inside that large open room. I'm sure those of us of a certain age have been in auto repair shops before where you hear especially the pneumatic wrenches changing the lugs on tires were just incredibly loud. Do you use those anymore?
No.
Okay, what do you use now?
Very limited with modern technology, with lithium ion batteries, electric impacts, electric guns. Air is less and less all the time. Now we still need air to fill tires, but most tools are electric now.
And about how loud are some of those tools, comparatively speaking?
Well, even the compressors now are not anything like the air compressors I'm talking are not anything like they were years ago. Now they're rotary screw air compressors, which has a decibel rating of 62. So a normal conversation like we're having now is around 60, 55 to 60 decibels. So it's only slightly more. You can hold a conversation right beside the air compressor. So that's what we have.
Okay, so even with the garage door open and your mechanics working on cars in there, is there going to be any loud sound reverberating out into the neighborhood?
No, not anything like was previously there, which was the high-powered saws and the woodworking and all that. Yeah.
Okay, all right. And just so we're clear, could the building be renovated, changed, remodeled to allow any of the current existing uses that we went over? Some of the ones, but if you guys have seen the building, some of these things are just crazy to think of back there, but a funeral home or a grocery store or convenience.
Not without major renovations.
Okay, and there's nothing you could do about getting road frontage or visibility for any type of retail operation back there?
No.
Okay.
No, I wouldn't
You're
know.
across the part of Elmwood that you can't see any longer because it's blown up, that private road in front there. There's another large property before you get to the back of the buildings that are right on Main Street, right?
Correct. This in here.
A big open field with some fenced area. And then further down on the drawing, not depicted, would be a row of buildings and businesses along Main Street.
This would be the Main Street businesses
And
right
then
here.
Main Street would be down near where the exit sign is on the wall right there.
Correct.
Okay, all right. You don't own the property yet, but you have it under agreement?
Correct.
Okay, did you create any of the hardships that we're complaining about tonight?
No.
Okay. All right. If the board authorizes your variance to move your RH Cooper operation into there, is that going to alter the essential character of this neighborhood at all?
No,
From the outside of the property, are you going to be able to tell, other than with signage, that it's an auto repair shop?
no, other than the signage. Yeah, we would want to have signage.
All right. So you're not going to store any parts outside. There's going to be nothing going on the outside of the business other than people coming and going.
Correct.
Right, and the variance we're requesting to allow your use inside the existing facility, is that the minimum relief necessary in order for you to operate your business out of there?
Yes,
You're going to close RH Cooper and Son if they allow you to move it to this facility, right?
correct.
So it'll no longer be on Main Street,
That is correct.
right? But you still own that building, right?
Correct.
You're going to put another auto repair facility in there? You're going to rent to somebody else?
No, I would rent it to a non-compete business.
A non-competitive business?
Non-competitor, correct.
All right. How many employees do you have at RH Cooper?
We have 11.
Okay, do you anticipate that dramatically expanding if you move to 99 Elmwood?
Possibly 2 or 3 more.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right. And as part of our application, there's a parking study in there that shows we have a tremendous number of parking spaces, far more than RH Cooper or IB Able combined would need at the site now. So we don't even have to add any other parking. About how many customers a day would come and go from your auto repair business?
on average, we have about 25 to 30 per day.
All right. Do you have any questions about RH Cooper right now? We were going to talk about IB Able here for a minute as well.
Mr. Hanson,
Explain to me how lot 3 plays into this. The old Elmwood Avenue Road.
Lot 3, okay, the road, yeah. That's I just happen to own that, so that would be, yes, right there. Yeah. So really, how it plays into it is that would be what we own out to the stop sign out here
Okay.
at the swimming pool. And this is how people would enter in. There is parking along here that's already lined off, and handicap parking right in that area, right across from the office. And we would have our customers park in this area right here, there and along here.
Now, the parcel marked lot 2, the old fire company property.
Yes,
Are you going to use any of that old parking that Hearn Sacco used to use? Right there.
right there. That's not in the plan presently, but it could possibly be for overflow down the road, I guess.
I think what he's saying is he wouldn't need any of that parking if he moved RH Cooper there, even if you also grant the variance to allow Able to be in there, they won't need any of that parking.
When I was down there the other day, I noticed there's a lot of trailers and trucks and stuff parked in that area.
In that area now, yeah, there's a landscape
that
guy
one? Mhm.
right in there. There's a landscape guy in there that's been in there for a long time.
And he leases that.
He does. He does.
And who's tenant, according to your plan up there? What's the tenant in the warehouse in the back? Are they staying there or are they going to?
Here,
Yep.
that would be Patrick Industries.
Okay.
And that's cold storage for lumber. And they are staying. Yeah.
I'm assuming your business hours are gonna stay the same Monday through Friday?
Correct.
What, 7 to 5 or something?
7:30 to 5.
Um, for lack of a better term, the 3-sided barn on the right side there. I think it's marked as,
Right there.
yep. One of the things that we may condition is dumpster being closed. Could you use that for your dumpster and?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. One thing that is very important to us is curb appeal. So I don't like to have anything sitting outside that, that doesn't meet the standards. So we want to have everything looking nice back there. So, yeah, maybe some fencing or some doors on that, something.
And you've always done a good job up on Main Street of keeping the curb appeal nice up there, so I would expect nothing less here. I think that's all I had. Oh, a lot of the parking lines are kind of faded. Are you gonna plan on painting them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Other questions? I have, some. Oops. Mr. Cooper. You were here for the previous case.
Yes.
And the applicant and his attorney indicated that, where the pointer is basically where that
Yes.
would be, correct?
Correct.
And he said he has permission or deed, I forget what it was right now, that he can use your lot 3 for his tractor trailers.
I can't confirm that right now without double checking that. I do know that Ivy Creek, we did look at their deed and they have the full span right away for in and out. And I know they have similar, but I don't know if it stops right here at the property line or not. And I do know that the right of way was drawn up back in the 50s and it's very vague.
Right, and
But it's only that it can't be parked on. It's only to travel across.
right, and that's what I was getting at. They're saying that they can come on somewhere on what's shown here as lot 3 to
Back up.
back up into their loading docks, proposed loading docks.
Right. Yeah, I cannot confirm that.
Okay.
He was talking about the parking lot that belongs to the residential.
No.
You were talking about-
You talked about both.
Yeah, but
You're right.
one of the things he was talking about is his building would be somewhere in this area.
Proposed
And-
addition would
yeah.
have two loading docks.
So he would
Right.
come down and he could come under 3 and then, back in. I guess when he goes out, he just pulls out.
Yeah, he'll have to back his trailer. He'll have to start about here and then he'll have to back it back and then go back in like that.
Now, is there any parking on this street up here on either side?
There is, it's 50 foot and this is lined with parking spaces right along here.
Yeah.
There's SummerSlam meets there.
With those parking spaces, at least on this side, as you indicate, with the parking of vehicles there, the trucks backing, is that gonna create an issue with your clientele coming in? Even though he said he only has 2 trailers in, 1 trailer out.
Yeah, I don't think so because the road's pretty wide. Yeah, I don't foresee a problem.
And to follow up, with Mr. Hanson's one question was about, outside store, trash, having it blocked off and whatever. I presume at your present location, you have a hauler to take away, any
Correct.
type of trash that you have between your office and the shop.
Correct.
Okay, so that same thing would go here
Same thing.
and you come in there.
We could have a screened in area, possibly right here at that corner, or it could be under that canopy, would be a possibility.
Yeah, I think there's already a big dumpster under the canopy.
There is.
There was the other day.
Yeah, there is.
And I just brought that up because instead of having to build a new screening area, you could just use an.
Just use that, yeah, and put like a gate on it or that you could swing open.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. I would like to clean up the visibility, this right here. I mean, it kind of looks pretty rough. And part of this whole process over the next couple of years will be to beautify the whole building. Try to get fresh paint on it, try to get it looking nice.
Now, your clientele basically is, unless there's something really major, in the morning and out in the afternoon. Your employees,
Probably, I would say 75% of the cars, maybe 85% are dropped off the night before,
well, but
after hours.
But I'm saying that it isn't long-term storage.
Correct.
Um,
If a part has to be ordered, maybe the car will be there overnight.
but a couple
with-
days, but not
Right,
at months.
no,
And you do not have plans to be, rebuilding engines and all that kind of stuff.
no, we do engine swaps,
Yeah.
but this shop will be big enough in through here that on a, what we consider a longer term project,
Right.
the car can stay right on the lift the
Okay.
whole time.
Thank you. Any other questions of the witness? Jason?
Is Mr. Good gonna talk about parking and the other, I had a question about the parking, and,
Why don't you just ask it now and we'll figure out which one it goes to later.
okay. So the number of spots that you indicated was hundred and 14 that would be provided,
That are there now, yes.
that are there now. So that did not include the ones along the alley? Or did it?
I better let you.
Hi, Keith Good, CGA Architects in Leola. We worked with TPD Design Traffic Engineers to do the parking study, but I did the site plan to show where the parking is laid out. The 114 spaces does not include the parking on the south side of Elmwood Avenue, but it does include the parking spaces that are off the north side of Elmwood Avenue up against the building.
So it
Yeah.
does include these and it does not include these that are in the street, if you will, but it
And it-
does include those.
And it also does not include these four on the end of Elmwood Avenue and does not include any of this parking on lot number 2.
Okay.
So it includes this parking over here, the parking in the front, the parking down this side and around the back, and this parking over here.
Okay. And Mr. Cooper, you mentioned at one point that some point you might want to use that parking down in lot 2 for overflow parking. Is it your intention, are you buying that land as well, or are you just talking about an agreement?
I already own that.
Oh, you already own that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Ron already owns what's shown as lots 2 and lot 3, the private roadway.
See, okay. And are both of the existing uses in that building staying, both the doggy daycare and the other use, what was the other one?
Yeah, we're buying it
Patrick
subject to
Industries?
their leases.
Okay, so they have existing.
Planning on
buildings.
staying at this point.
Okay, thank you. I'm good.
Beth, anything? Anybody in the audience or Zoom, questions for the witness? Oh, Mr. Hanson has another one.
Mr. Cooper, on the doggy daycare, a lot 2. I noticed there was some fencing, it looked like maybe dog runs or some storage areas. Do they use that actually, or?
No,
Okay.
no, they do not use that.
Anything else?
Nope.
Thank you.
Good. All right, if I do my closing of both of these at once, and now we can talk about IB Able. Thank you. Which one? In the application is a letter from Chris Yule of IB Able. Chris is here to talk to you and answer any questions tonight.
Yeah, good evening. Chris Yule, IB Able, 2745 Blackbridge Road in York, PA. Oh, UHL.
Okay, as we say in the application, IB Able is a contractor for PPNL. They do electrical line work for PPNL. They have some engineers who may work in one of the offices above their space, and that's right over here, right, Chris? Yeah.
I can kind of show that. Is it just the green one there? Yeah, perfect. So as Ron kind of mentioned, the doggy daycare is here, but you can see that there's an actual above space as well. That's actually like right here. So the offices are actually on a second floor with an outside staircase to be able to get to those offices that are partitioned up here. But the doggy daycare is directly underneath. And then this is the inside warehouse space that currently has a significant wall that separates the two doors. So these are 13-foot, maybe, yeah, 13-foot doors that would allow like CDL sized vehicles to pass through there. And yeah, so to what you kind of emphasized there, so we would have engineers in the offices. So we do EPC type work for PPL and the like, which is just engineering, procurement, and construction. So our professional engineer staff, which would probably be like 2 or 3 folks that telecommute. So they might be in the offices like maybe 2 to 3 days a week out of a 5-day work week, depending. And then the other storage in here, once that partition would be removed, would be where we would store our bucket trucks. And for those who may not be knowledgeable about the bucket trucks, it's basically just, you see them working on the distribution lines on the side of the street. Like those are the type of trucks that we facilitate and utilize for the PUC relating to PPL work in the Lancaster area.
So they carry a couple people and they got a big back on them and the legs that come down to stabilize them, because they send guys up in the bucket then to work on the lines or the transformers or whatever PPNL needs to have them do.
Correct. So, sorry, the plan would be then to store all of the buckets inside the warehouse. Again, we're very used to being in the public eye, and so we try and get our trucks not only for longevity's sake, and that they don't deteriorate and such. We try and store them inside if at all possible. Also, there's a security risk with that. We have a lot of tools on our trucks. We have a lot of expensive stuff on there that we like to protect. And so insulating them inside of that building, we measured that out to where it's like you could fit 3 stacks of 3 is basically what we would be doing. And then you could.
So 9 trucks.
9 trucks inside, sir. Yes, correct. So 9 bucket trucks, and then we would use the side parking here for all of the individuals' personal vehicles. So they would basically show up in their personal vehicles, come inside, basically muster in the office area, have their morning brief, and then they would get in their trucks. Everybody would be facing one way. They'd pull out here and come back around the building and depart down Elmwood. And then they would return. So we have a couple different shifts.
Mr. Hanson.
The covered areas, are you planning to do anything storing anything under them? Yeah.
Under here?
Yep.
That's where we would put our wire cart.
Okay.
Yeah, so we would pretty much back those under there, so that way the rope on the spools would actually stay dry.
Okay.
We still tarp them and cover them, but that's where we would basically just back in like a dump trailer and basically like a wire cart. Yeah. And then we would have 2 of the digger derricks. We'd park those outside because they don't have any tools on them. We really don't need to protect them, but we would tuck them back here in the back so that, again, they're not really visible from Elmwood to the rest of the servicing unit that Ron is, or the applicant is entertaining for his other services there. Because there's a pretty good amount of traffic that comes in for the doggy daycare, from what I could tell.
Can you tell the board what you mean by the shifts and how many people and trucks you're gonna have coming and going?
Yeah, so obviously we talked about 9 trucks on the inside and 2 diggers on the outside. However, that's not all one fell swoop. PPL, we're the only contractor that actually works three shifts. We have a first shift, a second shift, and a third shift. So basically it's like 2 men in a bucket and 2 men in a digger. So you basically are talking like one crew is 2 trucks. And so we have 2 crews that operate in the day shift, which is they show up at 6:30, leave around 7. They're done around 3:30, get back to the yard, and they leave about 4 o'clock. Second shift usually comes in, which is again, another 4 guys come in for second shift, and they work from like 3 PM until 11. And then they leave, and then the third shift comes in about 10. So there's an overlap there. They get in their trucks, they depart, and they come back at 6 AM. So we cover full 24 hours for PPL because of emergencies and carvers, poles and stuff like that.
But you're not gonna have 9 bucket trucks pulling out at 6 AM or anything ridiculous like that.
Correct.
I think it's what, a total of 16 people?
Yeah, 16 total resources outside of the engineers that would be working up in the top shop Monday through Friday. And then the general foreman, they come back and forth to the yard, but the bucket trucks typically don't return. PPL delivers the material out to wherever we're going to be doing that job, or we show up at their service center, pick that up, and travel out to the job. The buckets don't really return back until the end of the shift.
So that brings me right to my next question, just to highlight this. You're not storing a bunch of wire and other materials at this site?
No, not wire or anything like that. Those jobs actually get delivered out to the site. The only thing we would typically keep is we would actually have some racking along the side, and it's basically just for nuts, bolts, miscellaneous like hardware material that the guys basically need as ready stock. They just load that back up into their trucks, and then we just take, we'll go grab a whole bunch of shipment of that and reload it like from PPL on occasion, but that would all be housed inside. But not wire. Yes. And I know we were talking about dumpsters. We would have to have a need of a dumpster as well, which we had talked about tucking back here in the back corner. So again, it's kind of behind the building there, but typically we need two different dumpsters. We need one that's for the actual garbage. And then we need one that's actually for like the wood poles and stuff like that. As the guys bring them back, cut up in 4-foot chunks, we put them in the dumpster, PPL, and then we haul that back because PPL, it's got a bunch of creosote and stuff on them. We can't dump that in normal means. So they take that dumpster back.
And how much change will you need to make to the internal part of the building to use it for parking the trucks?
So the only way it would be usable for us is to remove that center wall partition that they had in there. It's actually 2 different walls, one big wall that comes through, and then they had a little compartment in the center. I think they used for like painting of what have you in the past. So there was like basically a partition in the middle there. It's literally just a drywall. There's no reinforcements, or it's not holding any load. So once that's removed though, that is a wide open space, very similar to what lot 1 would be on the inside as it relates to the mechanical aspect of the vehicles.
And the second floor where your engineers might end up is already office space, correct?
Correct.
You might replace the carpet and paint it, but otherwise no renovations necessary.
No, not really. There's one open area, which is kind of like a conference room area, and then there's, I believe, 3 offices back to where it abuts with the doggy daycare single office.
And they do have the 2 methods of ingress and egress. There's also a stairway directly into the lobby at the front door of the building that comes down off of that second floor as well. Good. Are there any other questions for Abel?
Question, Abel? Mr. Hanson?
So you're really not gonna generate much traffic. You're probably talking at what, maybe 10, 12 employees there max at one time.
That is correct, sir. The only time it really hits that peak is when, there's significant storms in the area. PPL might call all of our people in at once to go restore power. So they might bring people in off shift and basically bring them in off their typical hours just to go out and respond and turn the power back on for the public.
And I'm assuming, unless there's some type of power outage or something, you're Monday through Friday, Monday through Saturday, or you 27 days a week?
So we're not 24/7, 365, but our shifts for the second and the third shift is Tuesday to Saturday. That's their 5-day swing. And then we have the Monday through Friday crew. That's the day shift. And so that's just so that they get that reciprocal coverage. And then we have differing shifts over in Harrisburg, and we cover the entire territory.
Thank you.
Yes. Jason?
I don't have anything.
Beth? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And we believe that the use to which IB Able is going to put this particular space is not too much different in broad terms from what Ivy Creek was doing in terms of their contracting side of their business. The current owners have shut down their business, but they were manufacturing cabinetry there. They were also installing it. So they would have trucks coming and going of work crews, carrying cabinets out to houses or offices, putting them in, coming back, picking up stuff, going out to another job. So they also had a contracting component, and Keith Good can talk a little bit more about what Ivy Creek was doing, if you have any questions about that. And he's just going to answer any questions that you might have about that.
Any questions or anything that was said? I don't see any. No. Jason, any additional questions?
No.
Beth? You're not going to call anybody else then?
I am not.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience and or on Zoom that has any comments, pro or con, to this application and actually to the next application? Seeing them. Wanna
Okay,
conclude?
thank you. I just want to close very briefly, and I think we've met all the requirements for the variance. We've shown the hardship. We've shown that these two uses are going to fit really pretty nicely in the neighborhood back there. They're very similar to other things that are going on. They're also both compatible with your 2016 comprehensive plan. This assures that they're going to use the property in a way that fits in well with the neighborhood. It's compatible with existing land uses on the other properties. And as what I feel is an extra added component to this, it's going to get the auto repair place from R.H. Cooper that's currently on Main Street, right there beside your old mill building, off of Main Street in Salunga, and back to an area that is safer for the customers to use, because the parking lot right now from R.H. Cooper is right there on the roadway. And you've got that other street coming out into Main Street diagonally, just almost across from his parking lot. So it's kind of a big jumble over there now. So you're not going to have a garage on the main street in your village center. It'll be back off the road, and you can't see it from the main road. So thank you, gentlemen.
I have a question for Mr. Cooper, please. The tenant that's that tenant. That's the cold storage, correct?
Yes.
Where do they load and unload?
There is there's a door right there, an overhead door.
Okay,
There's also one right there in the back. But I think generally they use that door.
well, there's no way,
There's forklift.
there's no way to make a loop around that building, as I see now with the canopied area and all that, correct? Correct. Okay. When the cold storage comes to unload, is that a tractor trailer?
As far as I know, no, it's not a tractor trailer. It's a flatbed truck.
So does he go into the cold storage area or?
Yeah, I don't know that for sure, but from what I understand, they back up to that door and then they have a forklift inside
Okay,
and they come out, lift it off and take it in, the skids.
but that's not gonna create any issues with the customer parking. That's,
No, we have it figured to have enough space. Yeah.
okay. Thank you. Any other question? Mr. Hanson?
Just to, I don't think parking's ever gonna be an issue at this point. I mean, you've got some, what'd you say, 114 spaces?
Right.
No, I don't think it is, but I just
Mhm.
wouldn't want to have vehicles there and he said it isn't a tractor trailer, but you know,
Spaces there too.
yeah.
And now we have, I think, 16 spaces out front. Something like that, 16 or 18 spaces. That's all we really have in the front of that shop. And some the where we're at now in Salunga. So this will be, this will allow us to expand and have much more room.
Okay, any other questions? Anything else you want to add at this time?
No, I think that takes care of it. Thank you.
Okay, so this time then, gentlemen, we will conclude testimony in case number 2478. There are no exhibits or any administrative notice to take into consideration. So with that, if there is, I'll listen to a motion in 2478.
Mr. Chairman, in case number 2478, request of, I'm sorry,
Elwood Properties,
no, that's the current owner.
oh,
Bear with me.
ooh,
Is it,
the current, one quick question, Mr. Cooper. The current owner,
it'd be
Elmwood
Slunga
Properties,
correct?
he has given you, or they have given you the permission to seek, this variance?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
just wanted to get that in the record. Thank you.
And the entity buying the property is
Slunga
Salunga Properties
LLC.
LLC.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, case number 2478, the request of Slunga Properties LLC located, getting late.
Yeah, it is.
Their request for variance to section 270-3.8B3 for property located at 99 Elmwood Avenue, Landisville, PA 17538. Make a motion to grant their request for a variance with the following conditions. Number one, trash or must be stored behind some type of fenced fencing. And that would be also, well, we'll get into that when we get to the other one. Two, the current and proposed use of 4 tenants cannot be exceeded in the building. And 3 are standard conditions.
-3.
Dash 3.8B3.
Okay, motion, case number 2478 by Salunga Properties LLC. Motion by Mr. Hanson to grant a variance to section 270-3.8.B3 to allow a use not permitted in the village commercial zone with the following conditions. One, our standard conditions. Two, all trash has to be stored behind some type of fencing. And three, no more than 4 tenants in the building. Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Can I have a second, gentlemen?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Bingham. One question. When you say no more than 4 tenants in the building, is that including the applicant?
Well, the applicant would be one of the 4, yes.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that it isn't, somebody think it's the applicant plus 4.
No.
So no
applicant.
more than 4 tenants, including the applicant in the building. That agreeable to?
Yep.
Okay. Discussion, gentlemen? Seeing that, Mr. Hanson,
In favor.
Mr. Luce,
In favor.
Mr. Bingham,
In favor.
and I'll vote in favor. The request for your variance has been granted with the conditions. Okay, thank you.
And I'll just go right into case.
Okay. Beth, next case, please.
Get you out of-
Case number 2479, Elmwood Properties LTD Partnership, 99 Elmwood Avenue, seeking a use variance.
Okay, is someone here for case number 2479 Elmwood Properties or Salonga Properties LLC?
That's us again. That's our separate variance for the IB able use of the same property.
Okay. Anyone in the audience or on Zoom that wants to be a party to this case? Seeing none. Okay. Before we go on, case number 2479, based on our solicitor, I'll ask Mr. Winkle, does the applicant agree to use the previous testimony from case number 2478 to be part of the record of this case?
Yes.
Thank you. With that, Mr. Winkle, you have the floor, and don't repeat anything you said in the previous case.
Good. If you have no questions, I have nothing further to add.
I'm ready to make a motion.
Any questions? Okay. We will, since there were no exhibits and or administrative notice, we will conclude taking testimony in case number 2478 and listen to a motion if there is one. Or case number 2479, excuse me.
Mr. Chairman, case number 2479, the request of Salunga Properties LLC for property located 99 Elmwood Avenue, Landisville, PA 17538. Make a motion to grant their variance request to section 270-3.8B3 for business use not permitted in the village commercial to allow for a contractor business and storage to be used in approximately 9,100 square feet portion of the existing building, with our standard conditions, and the second one being that any dumpsters be enclosed within fencing.
Okay, in case number 2479, request of Salunga Properties LLC. For the property located at 99 Elmwood Avenue. Mr. Hanson makes a motion to grant the variance, section 270-3.8.B3, to allow for a business use not permitted in a village commercial zone, and to allow a contractor business and storage to use approximately 9,100 square feet portion of the existing building with the following conditions. Our standard conditions that we apply to all decisions. And two, that any and all dumpsters will be enclosed by some type of screening. Is that what your motion is?
Yes, sir.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Be consistent. Mr. Luce. Discussion, gentlemen. Seeing none. Mr. Hanson,
In favor.
Mr. Luce,
In favor.
Mr. Bingham.
In favor.
I'll also make, vote in favor. Your request for a variance in case number 2479 has been granted with the conditions so stated.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you. Beth, anything else?
Thank you for not going through it again.
Yeah. Was a sure way of getting a no vote. Okay, gentlemen. We have another hearing this Thursday. Everyone can be here, I hope.
Yes.
Cheryl? Jason, you're gonna be here. Okay, then our next meeting would be,
Tax day.
tax day. Any problem with anybody being here?
How good we don't.
Okay, then. So, April 15th.
When the accountant calls me back, yeah.
Thank you, everyone.
Take care,
Right.
guys. You bet.
Hey, how was, so I see you did well in pickleball, huh?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were playing.